Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Valley Sports Rewind. I'm Mike Kenichi, and today we are at Derby High School, and we're going to spotlight a Derby High School senior who has been cheerleading now for, I want to say, 10 or 11 years, and that is Miss Casey Kross. And Casey, it's an honor to have you on today, and I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So Casey, let's get started right away. I mean, wow, 11 years of cheerleading, that's unbelievable, but I know you started kindergarten at Bradley School 2004, probably?
2004, 2005.
Let me ask you, I mean, back then, like, that's when kids really start to cheerlead, maybe second or third grade. When did the love for cheerleading begin for you?
I started, when I was in kindergarten. It was something new. At first, it was different, but I got used to it, and I got into it more, and I eventually can't really picture my life without it.
Right. Now, it's definitely hard in the beginning. You're learning different things all the time. Were you nervous in the beginning? I mean, were there times where you're like, Mom, I don't want to go tonight, or stuff like that?
Yeah, I was nervous, but...
So let me ask you, were there other sports that you enjoyed playing, or was cheerleading basically the main love that you had?
I played softball and basketball, and I love those sports too, but cheerleading was just the
dream.
Main, yeah. Right.
Now let me ask you, cheerleading to me looks very hard. I mean, people just think it's people going to football games and, doing cheers, but you girls do some things that scare me. When somebody throws somebody up, I'm like, oh my God, that poor kid. What is it like? I mean, how hard is it to like get routines down and stuff like that?
It's hard getting the routine down, but like once you start doing it more, you start getting more used to it, and you start you're not as tired as you were like the first time you've done it.
Right. So now say you're a third grader at Bradley School, and Friday night football games are always big in the Valley, especially Derby. Would you get excited? I mean, would you go to football games, see the girls cheering and saying, wow, I can't wait till I get to high school?
Yeah, I used to go to the football games, and it was a big dream of mine. I couldn't wait till I was in high school to do it.
Right. Now, my sister was a cheerleader. She used to drive me nuts when I was a kid. She'd always be doing cheers in the hallway of the bathroom. I mean, did you find yourself just always doing a cheer wherever you were? I'm sure you drove your brother John nuts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, so you always, like, enjoyed doing it no matter where you were, stuff like that.
Yep. There were times that it got hard, but I just pushed through it and stuck with it.
Right. Now, cheerleading, the other thing is, too, back when you did it for Pop Warner, at least, I would say 20 years ago, it kind of ended after the football season. Cheerleading really never ends. It's a year-round thing, correct? Talk about, the commitment that you really have to put in. Like, what would you say, how many hours a week do you have to put in to dedicating your life to cheerleading?
Well, we have 2-hour practices every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Right.
So it's a good amount of time each week. Right.
Is it hard juggling schoolwork and trying to go to practice all the time? And it's got to be on your mind all the time too, because you guys are competing for different events. I mean, it's got to be a little tedious sometimes, correct?
Yeah, competition weeks are stressful with school and cheer, but I get everything done.
Right. Now, 2006, I believe. Let me guess. You were probably cheerleading for maybe the Pee-wees at that point, or junior midgets maybe. I think you were probably like in third or fourth grade. But talk about that year, because that's really when you started to really take off with it, correct?
Yeah.
I know, it's kind of hard to remember.
Yeah.
How long would you say in the time you were doing it where you really got confident in your ability? I mean, did you think the first few years, you needed a lot of work? I mean, did each year get easier, or did you find it to be harder?
Well, definitely every year. Like the first few years, everyone needed their own work. They all had to like work harder for it. And I got used to it, and I got better at what I was doing. And yeah.
Right. Do you find, Some girls, they're leaders. Some just kind of lead by example. Did you feel you had to kind of be a leader on the team? I mean, is that something you've been doing for the last few years, kind of being like someone the younger kids could look up to, things of that nature?
Because there's so many people in my grade that I've been cheering with since day one.
Right.
There wasn't really any leaders. We just all were kind of...
Right.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, I mean, everybody has mentors that they kind of emulate or, look up to. Were there, like, coaches or just people in general that really mentored you during this time that you would say, had a big influence on you?
My coaches definitely had a big influence on me.
Right.
They were my coaches since my first year of cheerleading.
Oh, wow, and they've stayed throughout it, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And now, talk about some of the members that, I mean, I'm sure you've probably had girls that you've cheered with your whole life. I mean, you want to talk about some of the members of the team?
All the girls that I've been cheering with, they're all dedicated. They're amazing. They're all amazing at cheerleading.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about 2010. I think you guys for Pop Warner went to the Nationals, and I think you took third place. Talk about what it was like going to an event like that and competing in it. How enjoyable was that?
It was a crazy experience, seeing all like the amazing teams that were there, and then us competing there, and just the whole environment was just amazing.
I mean, when you got there, did you think, do we have a chance, or did you think it was going to be hard? I mean, because you're going against so many other, programs, I mean, throughout the state and throughout the country. I mean, it's unbelievable to think you guys came in third place that day.
We knew it was going to be hard, but we knew we had a chance also.
Right. Did you enjoy it? Did you put pressure on yourself, or did you have fun with it? I mean, because that's the most important thing, is to have fun with it.
There was pressure, but we also did have fun with it.
Right. So what kind of goal? You guys came in third, and that's unbelievable. That's great. But what was the goal coming into that off season? Did you guys want to go back there and try to win this thing again? I mean, what was the goal?
Yeah, our goal was to win. We wanted to be better than we were last time, so we went out there and we got second the next year.
Right, and that was a great achievement, getting second. Was there any disappointment, though? Because, you girls had set out a goal to be first. Second, to me, is still great, but knowing the way you girls work, I'm sure there was some unfinished business. You wanted to get back there again.
Yeah, there was some disappointment because of how close we came to actually winning, and we knew we would be able to do it.
Right. And, I mean, it just made you girls work harder with everything you did. I mean, and that's the thing with coaching, too. I mean, they're with you girls all the time, so they really have to work. Who were some of the coaches? You want to talk about them a little bit?
Some of the coaches at the time were Brittany Anderson.
Right.
Danielle Hubbard. Barbara,
okay.
Sam Slowick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So now, let's talk about the magical season. I think it was 2012. Third time's the charm. You guys get back there, and now the goal is to win it. Talk about that week, what it was like for you girls. I mean, how long do you spend at the Nationals? Do you go for a couple days before you compete? How does it work?
We usually get there 2 days before we compete. The first day, we just settle in. The next day, we have practice.
Right.
And then the day following, we have competition.
So how was that week? Did you girls enjoy it, or was there that pressure to, take this home?
We enjoyed it. We had fun, but when it came down to it, there was some pressure. But.
And how did you feel at that point now? You said you started probably 2005. So you're talking 2012. So that's like 7 years now of experience. How confident were you in your ability by that point?
I was confident.
Yeah. I mean, do you get nervous for every competition? I mean, I would imagine everybody does.
Oh, yeah.
But does it go away after the first time you do it? I mean, do those nerves, they probably go away after the first time, right?
They go away, like, pretty much when I'm on the mat actually competing in front of the judges. That's when they go away, and then.
Right. So talk about competing for that national title. I mean, what was that like? I mean, to win a national title, and I would probably bet you were maybe 13 years old at the time. So you're a young kid. I mean, how awesome was that to, win a national championship?
It was pretty awesome. We were proud of ourselves. Our coaches were proud. It was just a great feeling.
Right. I mean, that plane ride had to be great, correct? I mean,
Yeah.
going home, makes it a lot easier than if But, I mean, the fact that you girls went 3 years, you came in third the first year, second the next, and then first. I mean, you had to look back and just say, wow, we really worked. We didn't just work 1 year for this. We probably worked 5 or 6 years to get to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that had to make the hard work all worth it, correct?
It was totally worth it.
Right. So now let's talk about you get into high school your freshman year, and right away, right off the bat, you get a rough injury. Talk about that injury a little bit, because that set you back a little bit, correct?
Yeah, it was a minor setback. I mean, I was out for a couple weeks, but when I came back, I already knew the routine, so it wasn't something that I had to learn everything.
Right.
So it was pretty easy to get back into it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, though, I think you hurt your nose, right? And
Yeah.
you messed up your tooth a little bit.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is what a lot of people don't know is that you've really never gotten them fixed because you wanted to compete and you would have to miss time. So, I mean, there's that dedication and commitment right there that you're willing to hold off on getting that stuff taken care of. How hard, though, was it to overcome that injury? I mean, were you more devastated at the fact that you were going to miss time? Or, obviously it was painful, but I'm sure your freshman year starts and you can't be out there right away. It had to be rough.
Yeah, it was upsetting just going to practice and knowing that I can't really do anything. I couldn't cheer at games, and it was tough.
Was there a part of you that thought, I may not make it back? I mean, or did you still keep your confidence?
I knew I was going to come back.
Right. And I mean, how was it when you came back? I mean, was it rough in the beginning? I mean, were you a little hesitant because of the injury, or did you just get right back out there?
I was nervous to get hit again, but I learned from my mistakes. I learned I got to step back if something's coming at my face.
Right. Right. I think, though, anytime you want to achieve something, there's going to be some obstacles. It's not always going to be, not everything's going to be happy, but the fact that you got hurt from that and you didn't give up, that had to, only make you stronger throughout this injury. Correct? Yeah. Right. Let's talk about the national championship year. And I believe that was 2 years ago, your sophomore year. I could be wrong.
States.
Right?
Yeah,
did I
States
say
was 2 years ago.
Right. State championship. Winning a national championship is unbelievable, but when you actually could go win one for your school, a state title, that just has to be such a terrific feeling. Talk about that a little bit.
We knew we had it in us to win that year. We worked hard. We went into that competition. We were nervous, but we had a good feeling about it.
Right.
And yeah.
So talk about what's the difference though between cheering for Pop and cheering for your high school. I mean, how obviously you got to work harder and stuff like that, but what are the differences between the two?
I'd say that varsity is more competitive than Pop Warner is.
Right.
And yes, it's just more competitive.
Right. I mean, is there one that you enjoyed more, or you love them both the same? I mean, they're both unique in their own ways.
I love them both the same.
Right. So let me ask you this. Would you ever, you graduate college in a few years, would you ever want to come back and be a coach?
I plan on coming back and coaching.
Right. Now, would it be the younger kids, or would you want to get into the high school level? Which one would you want to do?
I'll try for the high school level.
You've spent a lot of time with all these girls. You girls have went to different competitions. And again, I mean, it's a work ethic. It's not something that is easy to achieve. So when you won that state title, I mean, describe the feeling. I mean, did it really even sink in when you won it? I mean, could you really enjoy it at the time, or was it just like, wow, we did it?
It was enjoyable, just seeing how happy my coaches were and just being so proud of us for winning that title. It was a pretty awesome feeling.
Right. And I'm sure for you, with all the injuries you went through and stuff like that, if you fast forward to that year, the year before you're out with an injury, and then a year later, so you start your career and it's rough, but the next year, you finish strong. So I mean, that had to be a great feeling for you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this. I know your mother, she's been a big fan of yours over the years, this and that, and, she's always supporting you. But just talk about, like, your family in general, how supportive they've been through everything.
They're supportive through everything. They have to pay for a lot. They have to come support me at every competition. And just, they're always there for me if I...
Now, does your mother try to coach you, or does she leave you alone?
Both.
Yeah, she'll critique you sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. Now, was she a cheerleader too? Or?
She was a cheerleader, and she was my coach my first 3 years.
Now, how did you enjoy that, having your mother for a coach? Because, sometimes when parents coach, it's a little different because they do probably have to be a little harder on their own kids than the other kids. I mean, did you enjoy it? Did you two go back and forth with each other sometimes?
I enjoyed it. Obviously, it had its ups and downs. We didn't always agree with each other, but she's my mom.
Right. So now let me ask you, is your little sister into cheerleading? Have you worked with her, or she's more like a softball player or something like that?
She'll be a cheerleader.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, are you around the house with her doing cheers and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, she does them on her own just from watching me.
Right. Let's talk about the football games, because one thing people don't realize too is when you're cheering for football, you're not really getting to see the game. You kind of have to cheer to the crowd. You might get a break in between. You'll watch like a drive that's going on or something like that. But for the most part, your back is turned to the field. So how difficult is that, not being able to watch the game, or you're just having too much fun cheering? You don't even really pay attention.
Well, we have to pay attention because we have to know like what cheers to call, like whether it's defense or offense.
I mean, do you girls get pumped up for like Aunt Sonia week, Seymour week, when they're playing the rivals and stuff like that? I mean, it's got to be a lot of fun, because you're also, I don't know if they still decorate the lockers or stuff. Do you girls still do that?
Yeah,
stuff?
we still have the lockers. We have Spirit Week, pep rally.
Right.
So it's a fun week.
Right, and that makes it enjoyable too, because you're not just putting time in to practice. You're getting to do some fun stuff too, because if you just constantly worked, you probably wouldn't enjoy it. It's the other things that go into it. Talk about what it's like, for Aunt Sonia week. How exciting is that?
It's exciting. Everyone gets pumped up before the game.
How'd you girls do junior year of cheer, which was 2016, last year?
We did good. We were close to winning states. We're off by less than a point.
Now, I mean, was it disappointing, or do you kind of look at it as, we give our best and we're there all the time and we're always in the mix, so you can't always win all the time? Or do you just feel like you want to win every time you're out there? It's
good winning. That's a good feeling. But I mean, when we go out there, we hit a good routine. We're proud of ourselves. That's what matters the most.
Right. Now, do you get any type of break? Like, I mean, I know you girls are doing it in the fall, you're doing it in the winter, you're doing it in the spring. Is there any type of break that you girls get? I mean, or is it pretty much year round all the time?
We pretty much get a month break. So we'll be ending end of March. So, 2 months. So April and May, we get those off.
Right.
And we're back in June.
And one of the things too, you talk about commitment, dedication. You girls also in high school, you start to get your licenses, so you kind of want to get a job and stuff like that. And there's also, your schoolwork that you got to keep up with. How hard is it to, like I said, juggle everything? I mean, do you get anxiety from it sometimes, just trying to do everything?
It's tough. It's tough doing schoolwork.
And a social life too. So, that goes without saying.
Well, yeah. I don't have a job right now because of my schedule, but after the season's over, I have multiple opportunities.
It's unbelievable to think of the championships that are being won. I mean, how enjoyable is it to just see what's going on? I mean, the track team's good as well. The wrestling team always has a good year. Football team had a bad year this year, but they had a great year last year. So, I mean, even the girls' basketball team made the tournament this year. So you've kind of been in high school and you've seen a lot of great things go down. How enjoyable is that just as a student to be at this school?
It's good seeing the sport team start to take off. and do well.
Right. And I know your father was a Derby graduate too, and I know your brother Jonathan was, and he played football, I believe, for Derby, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just talk about them in general. You and John too have always kind of had a great bond as a brother and sister from the time I knew you guys. Always. I mean, talk about him a little bit and what he's been to you, an influence to you.
My freshman year, he was a senior,
Right.
so it was good seeing him in the hallways. Like, he'd help me if I ever needed anything.
Right.
So he was a good influence in my life.
Right, and you got to go watch him play and stuff like that. Now, were you cheerleading with the varsity freshman year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that had to be fun, getting to see his senior night, being on the field with him and stuff. That had to be enjoyable.
Yeah, it was fun cheering for him.
So now talk about senior year. It's your last year of cheer. I mean, has any of this kind of hit you yet, that this is it, that this is coming to an end? I mean, is it bittersweet, or, I mean, how would you take it?
It hasn't really hit me yet that this is my last season of cheer. Like, my last competition is tomorrow.
Right.
So
you want to talk about this competition a little bit, where you girls are going and stuff like that?
We're going to Rhode Island. We're competing in Providence.
Right.
And it's a big competition. We're against a lot of good teams.
Right.
It should be a good one.
And how's the week been for you girls? I mean, the practicing and stuff like that.
The practices have been good.
20 years ago, there weren't all these competitions, so cheerleading has really taken off, not just in Derby, but just in general. I mean, what do you see cheerleading being in the next 5 years? Never mind next 10. I mean, do you see it just continuing to grow?
I think the Pop Warner teams right now have a lot of potential. They're definitely gonna do well the next few years.
You're going to go to college, obviously. I mean, have you looked at, are there any schools that you've picked yet? Or
I'm going to Quinnipiac University.
Oh, you are going to Quinnipiac. Now,
Yeah.
Do they have a cheer team? Or
They do, but I don't think I'm going to do.
No.
I'm going to be done after
you
this year.
kind of want to just, which is fine, college, getting an education is more important. But so let me ask you, I mean, for all intents purposes, this will be your last one tomorrow, correct?
Yep.
I mean, what's that feeling like? I mean, do you just look at it as, you know what, I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. This is my last one. I just want to enjoy it. Or is there pressure?
I want to enjoy it, but there's some pressure that I just want to go out there, have fun, hit it, and just be proud.
Like I said, a lot of great things have been going on in Derby. I mean, they've got that whole new complex that's going to get built, the athletic complex and stuff like that. So many great things are going on. I mean, again, how proud are you to be able to say that you were a Derby High graduate? I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but it will. I mean, no regrets about where you went to school, correct?
No regrets. I plan on being a physical therapist.
Physical therapist,
yeah.
It's a great career. I mean, what do you like about that, or what got you into that?
Really seeing like some of my friends have gone through like physical therapy, and I just want to be in like the sports,
right?
Like sports related stuff, and just help people get better.
Right, and you get to stay, again, you talk about sports, you kind of get to be involved in it. Who knows, you may be on the football field in 5 years, when one of the players gets injured or something like that. That may be what you're doing, or you may be helping a basketball player get hurt. So, I mean, that's the other thing, too. You want to be able to give back to something, right? I would imagine, a lot was given, so you want to be able to give a lot back, too.
Yeah.
Correct. What do you think sports, though, in general, or cheerleading in general, taught you the most about yourself as far as a person?
Hard work pays off.
What is one message Casey Kross could send to the younger kids who are, never mind just cheerleading, anything they want to do, any type of sport, any type of, whether it be like, swimming, whatever it might be? What message would you send to them if they want something really bad?
Definitely get involved. Stick to it. Don't quit. Never give up on yourself.
Right.
That's about it.
Casey, I mean, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I just want to tell you that, everybody's proud of what you've done and how you worked your way back through all your injuries. I think you're a terrific kid. A lot of people don't know this. I had Casey at the Boys and Girls Club years ago, and she was just always so good, especially to the younger kids. She was a young kid herself, maybe third grade. and was very good to the younger kids at the club. She's not just a great athlete, she's a great person. I really do thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And that's Mike Kenichi for Valley Sports Rewind saying goodbye, everyone.